Moplah massacre, 1921. What happened? What led up to it? And the consequences of that? And why is the present day BJP government hell bent on not releasing this movie? To know all these things, let's take a quick look back at history, starting from the First World War that took place in 1914. Here we go. Let's take a look at the timeline from 1914 to 1923, a decade. In 1914, the First World War started, and thinking that if India supported and helped the British, that it would get independence, India wholeheartedly threw in its resources. In fact, a lot of the resources were diverted from India to help British fight the World War I. Now, in 1915, Gandhi was actually deported by South Africa. Many people don't know this. He was told never to return again, and he came to India. Now, you also have to remember that this formative thought of his on whether to return to India or somewhere else was perhaps influenced by Gopalakrishna Gokhale, who had sent his good friend Andrews to go and talk to Gandhi to persuade him to come to India. So the moment Gandhi reached India, he reached out to Gokhale, who advised him, please take a look around the country, tour the country before you decide what you want to do. And within a month, Gopalakrishna Gokhale was gone. And it affected Gandhi so much that for the next 1 year, he would not wear chappals in memory of Gopalakrishna Gokhale. And he toured the entire country. That's when he shed his Western clothes. He started wearing the clothes of the common man, started identifying himself with the masses. In 1917, he led the Champaran struggle, which brought him to the focus in the limelight, and as one of the young leaders of Congress who might be the one who might go to great heights. And remember that because he was the acolyte of Gokhale, he was considered a moderate congressman, as opposed to the extreme, which were the three Lals, Lal, Bal, and Pal. Lala Lajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and Suresh Chandra Pal, or some, it's a Pal, it's a Bengali leader. These three were the extremists. Part of the Congress party. I mean, they actually split and then they reunited a little bit later. That's a story for a different day. Let's not worry about that. In 1917, Champaran victory brought Gandhi fame, and he thought by supporting the Khilafat movement, which started in 1919 in India. In 1918, the First World War ended. Turkey was defeated. Kemal Ataturk became the president of modern-day Turkey. He started dismantling the complete caliphate structure, and the Indians somehow felt that, the Indian Muslims that is, felt that they needed to support this caliphate movement, and that's how it started in 1919. Now, I'm going to show you some of the pictures that were depicted in a Twitter series. And I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I just want to present the story from this moment forward about what happened in the Moplah riots. And now we'll get back to why we are seeing this thing in just one moment. In 1921 genocide, there was a uprising by the Muslims who thought that their Hindu landowners were being too strong on them or too strict on them. This was sort of this is where things get a little blurry. These were all British protectorates. So it wasn't as if the British were not aware of this. Then how did the British let this thing to fester up? Because it started in 1919. The massacre happened actually in 1921. So here we go. The Khilafat movement was an uprising of Indian Muslims. Also, we have to remember that after the First World War, when India saw that British were not going to do anything about their independence, they were disgruntled. The Hindus were disgruntled, and so were the Sikhs, so were the Muslims, so was everybody in India. So there was a discontentment that was in the air, and that showed itself in the form of protests. And in 1919, the Jallianwala Bagh massacre that took place. So all these things were happening in 1919. A lot of churn that was going on. Now, Khilafat movement was intended to bring again dominion over India by the Muslims, that the Muslims would rule. And in other words, the Khilafat would take birth in India and then go and conquer Turkey. And because the victor in the case of the First World War was British, it was looked as if the Muslims were rising against the British. This is where perhaps Gandhi made a mistake, that he said that he will support this movement without understanding the consequences. The challenge that Gandhi had was that if the Hindus supported the Khilafat movement, it would be sort of like unity for both Hindus and Muslims to fight against the common enemy, which was the British. This was the intention. However, the intention went wrong. The Khilafat movement gained force in Malabar, as well as due to his patronage, and fueled the Malabar or Moplah rebellion. The Moplah rebels were armed with knives and ammunition and had planned the attack on the British Hindus, lest fail them. That is, this is the problem. Gandhi thought that he was bringing together Muslims and Hindus, whereas the Muslims, at least in this area, thought that they needed to get rid of both the British and the Hindus, which is why they said that they will first take care of all the Hindu landowners and then we will go after the British. Somewhere along the line, this is where things can get a little murky. People say that Gandhi had actually told the Hindu landowners to give them weapons. Although if you remember, if you look at Gandhi's track record, I have never seen him say that somebody should resort to violence. So that part of the narrative in this Twitter thread, I don't agree. And I've also seen some other people who have said that, look, Gandhi just lent moral support. And this was over the objections of people as eminent as Rabindranath Tagore, who said that Gandhi should not be supporting the Khilafat movement. So there was a lot of, back and forth going on in the Congress as to what and how the Congress should be dealing with the Khilafat movement itself. Once they had the arms, the Muslims went about on a rampage. They were dishonoring brutally women, flaying people alive, wholesale slaughter of men, women, and children, burning them alive, the entire family. And see, the embers of this are still there in Kerala. This is what used to be the Malabar district, or now part of it is called the Malappuram. And you can see that it has become the fount of the PFI. It has become the laboratory where a lot of planning goes on, but nothing will happen in Kerala. This is something that they're very carefully doing it. It is believed that always the Islamists, the radical elements, plan 30 years as to how they want to spread their religion or get their power, control, what have you. So this is, it goes smack in that region. These were the areas that were the Moplah stronghold. Moplah actually means Ma Pillai, Mahasan, which is like an honor bestowed to your son-in-law. And unfortunately, that has now gotten twisted for the wrong words. I mean, now when somebody says Moplahs, it always immediately you connect with the rebellion and the massacre that took place. It wasn't just the Hindus that were affected, even the Christians were affected. Many died. Now the numbers, 2,500 Hindus slaughtered. Some say the number was much higher. 26,000 fled as refugees, and at least 2,500 families were forcibly converted, sexually assaulted, and more than 100 Hindu temples destroyed. This is 1921. I'm not talking about some, Ghazni kind of an invasion. And the British were actually looking at all these things, and they acted, but they acted very late. Now, here is a director. His name is Rama Simhan. He used to be also called as Ali Akbar. Yes, he converted back to Hinduism from Islam. So he faces a direct threat from the radical elements of the Kerala society. He crowdsourced this movie about the real story, a real history of the Moplah massacre. Now, many people who have seen this thing, including the Central Board of Film Censors, they have given some suggestions. First, they gave a few cuts, and then they started increasing the cuts, and now they've completely shut the lid on it, saying, you cannot show this movie. This is all the backlash from the Kashmir files, which the people, like, for example, the radical elements in the Muslim community, or even perhaps the left liberals, think that too much of the story is now, the narrative is being taken from them, and it is now being controlled by the right wing. This is their fear. But people have a right to know the truth. What I'm saying now is the Information and Broadcasting Ministry. I don't know why this ministry is even there, in the sense that this is a redundant ministry. The movie community can perfectly capably regulate itself. I mean, you have these gradations, mature adults and under 16 and so on and so forth. Those gradations are good enough for people to know when to watch a movie and when not to watch the movie or whom to watch the movie with. So anyway, so right now the status is this movie has not seen the light of day, and I see it is very, very unfortunate that a BJP government who understands that injustice of any form should be brought to light wants to keep a lid on this. I don't know if this is also being a ruse for them to use this as a political card in one election or the other to get votes. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I do want to see this movie because there are various versions of what really happened, and it is believed that Rama Simhan has done a lot of research. He has crowdsourced this thing. So essentially, the people who believed in his capabilities to be a storyteller, they are the losers. More importantly, the world is the biggest loser. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Namaskar.